lot. So now we can move to the projects that deal with communication infrastructure, technology, and device. So now we will have the presentation from Aether project. So Konstantinos, if you can share your slide now.
Certainly. Just a moment. You see my slides?
Yes, not full screen, if you can.
Let me switch. Because I use big screen. Better?
Yeah, it works.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Konstantinos Dodin. I'm a research scientist at the SNT of the University of Luxembourg. I'm the co-PI of the Aether project. First of all, just to mention that Aether stands for Self-Evolving Terrestrial Non-Terrestrial Hybrid Networks. And as a word, as an acronym, it's an ancient Greek word that it means the higher layers of the atmosphere, so beyond the clouds. So it's pretty, let's say, pertinent to what we do in this project. First of all, the presentation is divided into three parts. First, I will present what Aether is, its use cases, and the KPIs, KVIs that we consider. Then I will proceed with the architectural aspects and the main hero of the show, that is our management and orchestration framework. And finally, I'll conclude with some discussion about our standardization activities. So, what Aether is about? In a nutshell, Aether is going to provide a framework for the terrestrial and non-terrestrial network ecosystem that involves, first of all, an efficient and zero-touch resource management. Secondly, provides solutions for key radio access network challenges. And thirdly, finally, identifies the business opportunities for the potential stakeholders. We are a 13-partner strong consortium. Among those partners, we have 8 industry members, and among them 5 SMEs. So we have a strong participation of this on the SME side, and we also have 5 academic partners. We have a complete chain to realize our vision. So we have providers of technological solutions. We have a mobile network operator. We have 2 satellite network operators, 1 integrator, and 1 end user. And in our advisory board members, we have the European Space Agency and also the big satellite operator SES. Now, this illustration clearly depicts what Aether is about. So we have a unified 3D network that consists of the 3 layers: the terrestrial layer, the aerial layer that comprises high altitude platforms, drones, and aircrafts, and also the satellite layer that comprises the satellites in the different orbits, such as the low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, and geostationary orbit. And why do we need such a unified 3D network that integrates, or in a better word, unifies also the aerial and the space layer? I took this excerpt on the right side from a consultancy company in the UK that reads as follows. By adopting a hybrid network, NTNs can offer significant CapEx and OpEx reductions compared to deploying only terrestrial base stations to achieve the same amount of coverage. And according to the same case study, to provide full 5G coverage across the UK would require tens of thousands of additional terrestrial sites, while the same coverage could be achieved with a fleet of around 60 hubs. So we are talking about staggering numbers, and surely no operator would like to install thousands of sites due to cost and energy concerns in order to facilitate the users in areas of low penetration, such as remote areas, not urban sites. So, based on that, in Aether we bring several technological enablers to realize this unified vision that are divided into 2 distinct categories. So we have the lower level technological enablers, such as direct hand-to-device access, unified waveform to cater with the severe Doppler effects from very fast moving platforms such as LEO satellites, seamless vertical and horizontal handovers, mobile edge computing and caching, semantics-aware data handling to reduce the amount of information that traverses the network based on the significance of information, flexible payloading, or in other words, regenerative payloads. So these are the low-level technological enablers, and the higher level have to do with the management and registration and the end-to-end performance optimization. The objectives of Ether are 5. First of all, to provide solutions for a unified and sustainable radio access network. Secondly, to provide an AI-based, so zero-touch framework that can automatically adjust its management policies and allocate the resources based on stimuli that has to do with unknown environments and situations. So it's a highly complex environment, highly mobile. The third objective is to architect a value, highly energy and cost-efficient integrated architecture. The fourth objective is to demonstrate the effectiveness of the Ether solutions by experimentation activities. So we have 3 well-defined proof of concepts. And the fifth objective is to attract investments based on the benefits that we bring forward. So we tackle also the business aspect. Sorry, it got a bit stuck. Just a moment to change the slide. Wait a bit. Oh, yeah. Let's go to the use case. So we have 3 use cases. The first use case is related to service provision to delay-tolerant IoT applications. So what we have here, IoT devices that need to be facilitated. We assume that we have a feeder link discontinuity. This is a very plausible scenario because we know that the ground stations do not expand in the, let's say, the same pace like satellites, for instance. So we cannot have a real-time coverage, but we don't need it actually in several occasions. So we can have IoT devices that are useful in the agriculture, some asset tracking. So this can be delay-tolerant application. So we have a visibility of the ground station with some satellite, and then we lose the visibility. But still, we can store the information that needs to be dispatched, the particular IoT device, and then this can be delivered after some period of time. So when that satellite loses the connectivity to the particular target area, then another satellite can come. But for that, we need horizontal handovers for achieving this. So this is a situation of delay-tolerant application. So we need to have satellites with store and forward capabilities and delay-tolerant applications. So the innovations here are horizontal handovers, the Ether management and orchestration framework that we will see more in detail later, the flexible payloads or regenerative payloads, in other words, and the semantics-aware information handling. So this is a very low TRL enabler that is related to the reduction of the information that is to be dispatched by the IoT devices based on the importance of information. So there is a different importance related to agriculture, there is a different importance related to asset tracking, for instance. So this is a very good way to reduce also the energy consumption of those devices and achieve high energy efficiency in the networks. That is one of the KPIs here. So higher than 75% high energy efficiency by leveraging the semantics-based framework. The second use case is related to the broadband direct targeted device access at the Ka band, so high-frequency bands that offer high bandwidth. This is to achieve a complete unification with the terrestrial networks that in the future will operate in high-frequency bands to provide high rates. So what we assume here is that there is communication initially with the terrestrial G0 B, terrestrial cell, but then it becomes infeasible because the user can move to some remote rural areas, or there is some bad link due to some obstacles, or there is a high cell traffic that comes to that cell, and then we need to have a migration of that user to another G0 B. So if we don't have an available G0 B, another terrestrial, then we need to migrate the communication to satellite, to a LEO-based G0 B. So to close the link and achieve the same quality of service, we would like to achieve high gain from space. So one innovation is to enable distributed beamforming from LEO satellite SOARM in order to create a large array in space, vertical handovers across different routes, because we have a handover here from a terrestrial to a non-terrestrial route, unified waveform design to cater with a high Doppler shifts based on the LEO satellite communication compared to the stationary communication from the terrestrial G0 B, And in such scenarios, we know that OFDM is not the best waveform. So in Ether, we investigate the OTFS and also terminal antenna design to achieve significant gain also from the user side. Now, the third use case of Ether is the airspace safety critical operations, where the assumption here is that we have an aircraft moving from one airport to another. It can be between two continents, for instance. So there isn't communication throughout its trajectory with ground stations, but we can leverage some other entities, NTNs, such as high-altitude platforms, LEO satellite, to continue facilitate the communication. So the innovations here are the vertical handovers across routes, the Ether mobile edge computing orchestrator. We need make nodes because we have an applications, for instance, weather forecasting, for which some tasks need to be processed outside of the aircraft. Unified waveform design, again, predictive analytics and end-to-end network performance optimization algorithms. Some KPIs here, just indicatively, we have 100% coverage, performance integrity, or packet error rate. In other words, we can say 10 to the power of -4 to 10 to the power of -6, and greater than 80% more energy efficient resource allocation with respect to the state of the art. We have a mapping of the use cases with KPIs and KVIs. The KPIs that we consider in Ether are energy efficiency, coverage, for instance. So these are straightforward energy efficiency handovers, latency, performance integrity. And KVIs are related to democracy, fairness, digital inclusion, the sustainability of the ecosystem, economic growth, innovation. For instance, we understand in particular that when we achieve 100% coverage with integration of the NTNs, we have complete digital inclusion. For the ecosystem, we can have a sustainable development based on energy efficient, sustainable infrastructure that we develop here. Now, going to some words related to the architecture. The architecture of Ether is characterized by several features such as being generic, multi-domain, multi-provider, hierarchical, distributed, zero-touch, so no manual intervention, extremely important, scalable, service-based, modular, and open. It comprises 5 distinct layers. The infrastructure layer that mostly consists of course, terrestrial and non-terrestrial physical assets that involve core, central cloud, transport edge, extreme edge infrastructures, to name few, also virtualized infrastructure. The network layer that consists of network functions and third-party functions. The service layer that consists of network slice instances. The application layer, and also the business layer that has to do with the involvement of the business actors, such as mobile network operators and verticals. And these layers are coordinated on multiple levels by the end-to-end cross-domain Ether MANO, supported by some AI-based functionalities. Now, the Ether MANO layer comprises end-to-end components in the global level that involve the two orchestrators, the application orchestrator and the network orchestrator. The administrative domain level that involves several domains such as a cloud domain, MEC domain, RAN domain, and these have to do with the different layers, the terrestrial and aerial and the space layer. And also we have the infrastructure layer. And what we have in the architecture is that the specific orchestrator per domain, and there is connection between all the orchestrators. Now, what we need to solve with the management orchestration framework? Primarily, the execution on a geographical location. So we have this geographical information system function, this GIS, in order to map the target area that we want to provide the service to particular coordinates. And these coordinates are communicated to the orchestrators of the global level. So the network orchestrator and the application orchestrator. So this solves particular problems of current technology being unable to differentiate between countries, which can create several implications. And we have deployments done now by different cloud domains. And the second challenge related to the yellow approach is the seamless management of no-mobility. node mobility. So the current technologies do not integrate mobile infrastructure. This is the important thing that we need to keep. And we have a highly dynamic network here. There can be some predictive mechanisms that may help to anticipate the changes. And we need to have the seamless integration of this with the current architecture. So these yellow boxes that are added are the global mobility management function, the domain mobility management function, and the local mobility management function that we see here, their description. So the global mobility management function is a primary point of contact for the mobility management framework, and it involves the registering and discovering of available domains. The domain MMF, the mobility management function, identifies the domain that the physical infrastructure traverses within the target area and manages the local MMF, which has the role of managing the mobility of a physical infrastructure, the discovery of the location of the physical infrastructure, and the maintenance and update of the node location. And here, just to mention that we have developed in Ether several interfaces, Inter and Intra, that connect all of these boxes. Some of the interfaces were already existing based on the specification of 3GPP, but some others that didn't exist related to the mobility management functions, those we needed to develop them in-house, in project, let's say, in better words. So we finalized this presentation with the standardization efforts for Ether. So what we push for to 3GPP is the store and forward mechanism that I detailed for use case number 1 of Ether. So this is a part of the satellite operator of Satelliot, in our case, that is involved, that undertakes the pushing of this to the 3GPP actions, and its successful promotion will achieve a massive IoT market through economies of scale, and the results within Ether related to this protocol have been introduced, as I mentioned, to several 3GPP activities that you can see in the table. And the gap, what we solve here is that the current 3GPP architecture that is based on transparent payloads, not on regeneratives, doesn't support this continuous IoT service operation. And the connection to the ground station should always be needed based on this framework. But this is not always possible due to remote areas, for instance, that do not have ground gateways, several ground stations. But even if we introduce that, that would incur high cost. So this is not desirable. And as a long-term impact, the adoption, we envision the adoption of this protocol, as I mentioned. And here are some further innovations that we would like to push further. So they are not as mature as the store and forward protocol, but these have to do with functionalities that we want to, based on some edge-related framework, for instance, that we want to take them to incorporate the aerial and satellite layers, such as the Ether Mano, the AI-based Ether joint communication and computational and storage resource allocation framework, artificial intelligence-based Ether monitor framework, the MEC orchestrator, pretty important, the flexible payload system that we developed, or otherwise the regenerative payload system, and also the UE antenna design that we are going to bring forward for the UE side, in the use case 2, that we would like to close the link and achieve high gain also from the UE side in order to achieve this unification with respect to the service that can be provided from the terrestrial networks. Last slide. So what we envision as potential collaboration with the EXA, X2 and other projects, the definition of the use cases with high societal impact, defining key 6G enablers, the design of the 6G architecture. So we brought here a management orchestration framework that solves problems that were not dealt with before, particularly the mobility of the nodes. So we are talking about a highly dynamic network. So this is what we solve with this management orchestration framework, and to have some impact in standardization activities, to help us, if possible, to push some of these innovations that I detailed to standardization bodies based on particular, let's say, interactions of XIX with those, such as 3GPP. Thank you so much. Thank you for paying attention. I will be happy to respond to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Constantino. So I don't see any question on the chat, and since it's time to move to the next presentation, please check again the chat if there is some question. And now I say that we move to the next presentation from 6G Shine project, and it will be presented by Baldomero. So